I have finished reading the third and last chapter in the Five Nights at Freddy's Into the Pit book. In my opinion, this was one of the darkest chapters in the whole book, and that's what I'm going to just say for the people who do not want spoilers. Now, before we get on to this chapter, I do want to mention that this chapter goes from one part to the next, like it takes place in the past, then into the future, and back to the past. I just wanted to mention that so you would not get confused throughout this video. There will be some spoilers, so I would recommend reading the book, but if you just want to listen about the summary, that is completely fine with me, so let's get started. This chapter is about a 14-year-old girl named Millie Fitzsimmons. She is a goth girl who is always writing poems and who likes to think about death. She also doesn't like to eat a lot or chat with a lot of people, and she gets bullied by the popular girls, which will be told later on why. In the beginning of the chapter, Millie had woken up by a voice as it was around her because she was inside, as she calls it, a bear robot, which will be known why later on. Millie is questioned what is going on but asked if she can leave. The voice refused to let her go, but since he knows that she talks about death all the time, he is going to give her options of how she wants to die. It goes back to present time when Millie is with her grandfather. Her parents went to go to Saudi Arabia for a year to go teach at a school. They gave her the choice to either go there to be homeschooled or to stay at her grandpa's house to start high school. She chose to stay at her grandfather's house because she thought she would be miserable at Saudi Arabia. Her grandpa is a collector. He collects a lot of random things from junkyards like hubcaps, license plates, and he even has a suit of armor. As it was said earlier, Millie doesn't really like to eat a lot. She refuses to eat the meatloaf or spinach or the mashed potatoes he cooks because it looked like something from a bag and it was a brick that was melted by a microwave. And also, she does not like eating meat. Since she didn't want to eat, her grandfather told her to do homework in her room. Her room has a dark drape with a poster of her favorite singer, Kurt Carrison. She likes her room to be based on her personality, but the one thing that is not part of her personality is a sewing machine because this was her grandmother's sewing room, and Millie took it in when she moved in. It does say her grandmother died before Millie was born. She likes researching and reading poems about death by Edgar Allan Poe. Most notably, her favorite is Annabel Lee, who she named her cat after. Her grandfather also knows how much she likes to talk about death. When she reads one of the poems, she gets an idea and writes a poem that says this: "O death, show me your ravaged face. O death, how I long for your chilly embrace. O death, my life is such a misery that only you can set me free." It goes back to the conversation with her and the bear that she is in. He tells her one of the options is a lazy choice, which one of them is dehydration, which he goes in the biggest description for dehydration, how no one can survive without water for a few days. He also talks about starvation, which could take weeks for the body to go on without food. She thinks that this is an easy thing to get out of, so she thinks she can try to scream, but the bear says that inside of him is soundproof, which will be hard for her grandpa to hear her. The time goes back to the past where she is at school and is a week before Christmas break. She doesn't know why people get excited about Christmas, which she thinks it will event happiness into someone. As I mentioned earlier, she gets bullied at the school by the popular girls and gets called Dracula's daughter because she carries a book called Dracula by Bram Stoker. Her best friend is Hannah since they were in preschool through elementary school. Hannah ditched her to be with the popular girls, which had Millie very upset, so she has been lonely for quite a long time. Then at lunch she met a boy named Dylan, which was new to the school. They both become friends since they both have the same interests as each other. They both are goth and they both like the same books. They become friends and Millie is starting to actually brighten up and is starting to become a little happy. It goes back into present time and the bear offers to kill Millie by freezing her to death, but he decides not to so that her grandpa would not get suspicious. The reason why he wants to kill Millie is because, for one, he is bored, because he just sits in a garage, and two, he hears Millie talk about death all the time. But when she tells him she does not want to die, he laughs, and Millie can feel shaky because the robot is laughing, and it goes through the chapter. It goes back to the past when Millie and her grandpa are talking about Millie's poems. Her grandpa knows that the reason why she has never understood death is because she has never seen it or experienced it like her grandpa had. When her grandpa reads Poe's poems, he reads them so he thinks them as romantic, which is making Millie start to change. Back in the present time, the robot offers another way, which is impaling, and it goes to how Vlad Dracula has a forest of the impaled. He can use one of his wires to kill Millie, but she doesn't want that to happen because all she wants to do is get out and get her grandpa and her aunt and uncle to help her. In the past, Millie sees Dylan at lunch again and gives her a book for her to keep called The Call of Cthulhu and Other Stories by H.P. Lovecraft. During that night, she read the whole book through and then opened her laptop to find poems about love instead of death, which is a huge change for Millie. When she read a poem online, she got an idea to write her own, which said, "You clipped away the black thorny vines that twisted around my wounded heart, so it could beat and feel relief from pain. You are the gardener who wakes the plants from the gray, chilly death of winter, so that they can blossom again like my heart, a slow-blooming, blooded rose." And after she did her homework. In the present time, the robot offers another way, which is electrocution. He goes into how it was made by a guy called Alfred P. Southwick, who got an idea from his dentist chair to model it that way. The robot could send electric currents through his cavity inside of him to make Millie have nasty burns and will die from fibrillation. On a Saturday evening in the past, Millie goes to the library to find more of the books that Dylan gave her, and she ran into him at the library. Millie tells Dylan that she could not find any other books by the same author, but Dylan gives her a book similar to it and offers her to go to a table with him to read. And after they read, they went to a place to have a cup of tea, which makes Millie happy and she starts to gain feelings for him, which all she ever really wanted was to have a happy life. Like this. Millie and her grandfather go to a Christmas party. The only reason why she wants to go is that so she can see if Dylan is there. But when she goes there and she sees Dylan, he is with another girl holding hands, and the girl's name is Brooke Harrison. She gets really upset and she leaves with her grandfather, and everything that she was building up to become happy was destroyed. In the present, the robot offers to boil Millie. The conversation is short, but when the robot is describing that boiling was used by Henry VIII as a form of punishment. When Millie is at school during lunch, as soon as Dylan came over, Millie said to him that she saw him at the Christmas party with another girl. Dylan is confused, like, what are you talking about? Until Millie says, why did you give her the book? And why did you ask her to go to tea with him? Dylan began to realize and began to explain to her that he was not trying to lead her on and saying that he liked her because she was a good friend, but Millie is blaming him that he is with a blonde. Dylan becomes angry, saying that Brooke is a good person, but it doesn't like how she judges people that does not appeal to her. He storms off saying that their conversation is over, making it the end of their friendship. That same afternoon, Millie and her grandpa got into a fight with her. He always tries to make her happy, and he cannot take her being a girl who is always complaining all the time. After the argument, Millie goes upstairs and her grandpa goes to the workshop to work. In the robot, instead of boiling her, he goes with the last option, decapitation. He goes into further detail of how Mary, Queen of Scots, used it and how it's still used to that day in Saudi Arabia, which is where her parents are, causing her to fear for their life. Now this time it is Christmas Eve. Millie's aunt and uncle visits with her cousins. Millie, not wanting to do anything, goes for a walk to spare some time. She gets back a while later and decides to go into the workshop in her grandpa's house. She stays there for a little while until she hears her cousins. She is afraid that they will see her and tell her grandpa. She decides to go into a bear that is described as this. The strangest item among many was tucked into one corner of the workshop. It was some kind of mechanical bear with a bow tie, top hat, and a creepy blank grin. It looked like it had once been white and pink, but years of neglect had left it a dingy gray. It was big enough for a person to climb into its body cavity, like in one of those science fiction movies where people drove giant robots. The hinges on its limbs made it look like as if its parts had once moved. It must have been a figure from one of those old kids attractions that feature creepy looking animatronics. Why had little kids ever liked these things that were nightmare-inducing? Now it is the current time. The robot says if they do decapitation, it will be his first attempt. Millie sees a light through the chest cavity and spots an opportunity to escape. She used her bracelet to make a crack that would make it easy to escape, but she couldn't do it now because she did not want to get caught. She says she decided to go with decapitation so she can go flat and avoid it so she can be safe. She asks him to tell her when he is about to do it, which he agrees. He gives a sentence as guilty for crimes on humanity, which she does not understand why. She wonders if she got out, she would be nicer to her grandpa, her family, and even make up with Dylan. In the spirit of the French Revolution, the voice said, I will now do a countdown in French before releasing the blade. Un, deux, trois. Quick as a shot, the blade sliced through the chamber. Grandpa brought out a platter of sugar cookies and set them on the coffee table. I'll be right back with the hot chocolate, he said. In the kitchen, he finally broke down and called Millie's cell number. Her phone rang from the pocket of her jacket that was hanging from the coat rack in the hall. Oh well, she would come back when she felt like she'd proved her point. He hated to think of her being outside without a jacket, though. It was pretty chilly out there. Grandpa poured 5 cups of hot chocolate and topped them with a generous handful of mini marshmallows. He carried the steamy cups on a tray into the living room. Who's ready for presents? He called. I am, Cameron shouted. I am, Hayden shouted even louder. Do you think we should wait for Millie? Sharon asked. She's not celebrating Christmas, remember, Rob said. Why should we wait for her if she decided to be a brat? Grandpa didn't like the word brat being used to describe Millie. She wasn't a bad kid, she was just at a difficult age. She would come around. He crouched under the Christmas tree and arranged all her presents into a big pile so that they would be there for her when she came back, leaving on a cliffhanger and not knowing on what happened to Millie. So I really hoped you guys enjoyed the very last chapter for the Into the Pit book. Honestly, I had a lot of fun reading this book, like rereading this book, and also making these summaries for you guys. And yeah, I'm having an absolute blast. But we're not entirely done with the book yet. We still need to do the secret ending, which will be a separate video. And then I will be combining every single summary, including the secret ending, into one big video. And then when everything is done, I will have all the secret endings in one entire video, so that way you guys can see what, I guess, lore is behind the secret ending. But like I said, it is for the next video. So I hope you guys did enjoy this. And in my opinion, this chapter was one of the darkest. It was more dark than the To Be Beautiful chapter, which I guess it makes sense why, but this talks about, like, you know, options of different types of death methods, and goes into, you know, the different details about each every one of them, which is absolute dark and absolute crazy. But I really hope you guys enjoyed this, and if you guys are, make sure to hit that like button. And also too, before I finish out the video, I just wanted to let you guys know that from now on, I will just be doing the Fazbear Fright books. Possibly later I will be doing the you know, the main series of books, but right now I just want to focus on the Fazbear Fright book, or the Fazbear Frights book. And yeah, that's basically it. So like I said, make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.